Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk to you today about a secret, not the kind that's locked away, but the kind that lives within you, waiting to be uncovered. The secret of becoming mentally strong. Pain is a part of life that none of us can escape, but so often we try to avoid it. We numb it, deny it, or run away from it. Yet pain has a purpose. It's a messenger, a guide, and sometimes even a mirror. When we stop seeing pain as something to fear and start viewing it as a teacher, we open ourselves to profound growth. It's in those moments of discomfort and struggle that the seeds of resilience are planted. Think about a time in your life when everything seemed to fall apart. Maybe it was a loss, a failure, or a betrayal. It felt unbearable, didn't it? But if you look back, you'll realize that moment taught you something you couldn't have learned any other way. Pain strips away the unnecessary, leaving only the truth. It forces you to confront parts of yourself you may have been too afraid to face. Pain teaches humility. It reminds us that we're not invincible, that life can change in an instant. And in that humility comes connection, because when we admit our vulnerability, we allow others to show up for us, to support us, and to remind us that we're not alone. It's in these shared moments of struggle that we often find our greatest strength. There's also a wisdom in pain. It tells us what we need to pay attention to, where we need to heal, and what no longer serves us. Pain has a way of illuminating the cracks in our lives, the ones we might have ignored when everything felt fine. It's as if pain says, "Look here. This is where you need to grow." When we embrace pain instead of resisting it, we discover its transformative power. Pain doesn't just break us, it reshapes us. It helps us shed old identities, beliefs, and habits that no longer align with who we are becoming. It's in the breaking that we find the opportunity to rebuild ourselves stronger, wiser, and more aligned with our true purpose. Consider the lotus flower. It grows in muddy, murky waters, yet it rises above to bloom in all its beauty. Pain is that murky water. It's messy, uncomfortable, and often feels like it's pulling us under. But it's also the very environment that nurtures our growth. Without the mud, there would be no lotus. Pain also teaches us to be present. When life feels easy, we often live on autopilot, barely noticing the details. But pain has a way of snapping us into the moment, forcing us to feel everything. In that heightened awareness, we find clarity. We see what truly matters, and we begin to let go of the things that don't. Finally, pain fosters empathy. When you've walked through fire, you recognize the flames in someone else's eyes. You become more compassionate, more understanding, and more connected to the human experience. Your pain becomes a bridge, a way to reach others and say, "I see you. I've been there too." Through this connection, pain turns into a gift, one that allows you to support and uplift others. Self-awareness is the foundation of mental strength. It begins with the willingness to look within, to ask yourself the hard questions, and to sit with the uncomfortable answers. So often, we go through life reacting to situations without understanding why we feel or act the way we do. But self-awareness invites us to pause, reflect, and dig deeper. It's the act of becoming an observer of your own thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. One of the most important aspects of self-awareness is recognizing your emotional triggers. What makes you angry, anxious, or sad? What lights you up and fills you with joy? These triggers hold clues to your inner world. They reveal your wounds, your passions, and the patterns you've built over time. When you identify these triggers, you begin to take control of how you respond to them instead of letting them control you. Self-awareness also means understanding the stories you tell yourself. We all have an internal narrative, those beliefs about who we are, what we're capable of, and what the world expects of us. Some of those stories empower us, but others hold us back. Maybe you've told yourself, "I'm not good enough," or "I always mess things up." Self-awareness allows you to challenge those narratives, to question their truth, and to rewrite them in a way that aligns with your potential. It's not always easy to face yourself, though. Self-awareness can be uncomfortable because it forces you to confront the parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. But avoidance only leads to stagnation. Growth happens when you're willing to shine a light on your fears, your flaws, and your vulnerabilities. It's in that space of honesty that transformation begins. Another key element of self-awareness is being mindful of how you interact with others. Your words, your tone, your body language, they all impact the people around you. When you pay attention to how your energy influences others, you start to understand the ripple effects of your actions. Self-awareness helps you become intentional in your relationships, creating deeper connections and more meaningful exchanges. Self-awareness is not about judgment, it's about curiosity. Instead of labeling yourself as bad or good, ask yourself, why did I do that, or what was I feeling in that moment? This kind of curiosity fosters self-compassion, allowing you to learn and grow without the weight of shame or guilt. It's about understanding that you are a work in progress and that every experience offers a lesson. Self-awareness also requires stillness. In the chaos of daily life, it's easy to lose touch with yourself. But when you take the time to sit in silence, whether through meditation, journaling, or simply reflecting, you give yourself the space to hear your inner voice. In that stillness, you reconnect with your values, your dreams, and the deeper truths that guide your life. Lastly, self-awareness reminds you that you have the power to choose. You can choose how you respond to challenges, how you treat others, and how you show up in the world. When you understand yourself, you step out of autopilot and into intention. You become the author of your own story, shaping it with purpose and clarity instead of being shaped by circumstances. The need for validation is something most of us carry, often without realizing it. From an early age, we're taught to seek approval, whether it's a pat on the back, a gold star, or a kind word from someone we respect. But as we grow older, that search for validation can become a weight that holds us back. When your worth depends on someone else's opinion, you give away your power. Letting go of that need is an act of reclaiming yourself. At its core, the need for validation stems from a desire to feel seen, heard, and valued. It's a deeply human longing, but the problem arises when you rely on external sources to fulfill it. Whether it's through social media likes, a boss's praise, or a friend's approval, chasing validation from others creates a cycle of dependency. You begin to shape your actions, words, and even your identity around what you think will make people like or accept you. The truth is, no amount of external validation will ever be enough if you don't believe in your own worth. It's like trying to fill a cup with a hole in the bottom. No matter how much praise you receive, it drains away, leaving you feeling empty again. The only way to truly feel whole is to look inward, to learn how to validate yourself from a place of self-respect and self-love. Letting go of the need for validation requires you to get comfortable with not being liked by everyone. And that can feel terrifying. But here's the thing, not everyone is meant to understand you, and that's okay. When you stop trying to please everyone, you free yourself to live authentically. You start making choices based on what feels right for you, not what will earn you approval from others. This journey also calls for a deep sense of trust in yourself. Trust that your voice matters even when it's met with silence. Trust that your dreams are valid even when others don't understand them. Trust that you are enough even without applause. Building that trust takes time, but it begins with small, deliberate acts of self-affirmation. Another part of letting go is recognizing the ways validation seeking shows up in your life. Maybe it's staying in a job that doesn't fulfill you because it looks impressive to others. Or it's saying yes to things you don't want to do, just to avoid disappointing someone. When you become aware of these patterns, you can start to challenge them. You can ask yourself, am I doing this for me or for someone else's approval? It's also important to understand that letting go of the need for validation doesn't mean you stop caring about connection or feedback. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect and understanding. But the difference is that your sense of self no longer hinges on what others think of you. You can appreciate someone's opinion without letting it define you. Letting go is ultimately about liberation. It's about stepping into your own truth and allowing yourself to shine, unapologetically. When you no longer depend on others to tell you you're worthy, you become unshakable. You walk through the world with confidence, not because everyone agrees with you, but because you know who you are, and that is more than enough. Gratitude is often seen as something simple, even cliche, but its power to transform our perspective and build resilience is profound. It's not just about saying thank you when things are good, it's about finding something to hold on to when life feels impossible. Gratitude allows you to see the silver lining in the darkest clouds and reminds you that even in moments of despair, there is still something worth cherishing. One of the most incredible things about gratitude is that it shifts your focus. When challenges arise, it's easy to become consumed by what's wrong, by what's missing, or by what's causing pain. Gratitude invites you to look beyond the struggle and recognize what is still strong, still beautiful, and still working in your favor. This shift doesn't erase the hardship, but it gives you the strength to face it with a more grounded and hopeful mindset. Gratitude also serves as a counterbalance to fear. When fear whispers, "What if everything falls apart?" Gratitude responds, "Look at everything that's holding you together." It reminds you that you've faced storms before and made it through. Reflecting on the blessings and lessons you've gathered over time reassures you that you have the tools to weather the challenges ahead. Another remarkable aspect of gratitude is how it reconnects you to the present moment. When life feels overwhelming, we often spiral into worry about the future or regret about the past. But gratitude pulls you back into the here and now. It asks you to take stock of what's good in this very moment: the breath in your lungs, the love of a friend, the warmth of the sun on your skin. In those small, quiet details, resilience begins to take root. Gratitude is also deeply intertwined with perspective. Imagine this: two people face the same setback, but one focuses only on the loss while the other acknowledges the lesson hidden within the difficulty. The second person isn't pretending the setback didn't hurt, they're choosing to see how it can serve them. Gratitude doesn't deny pain, it coexists with it, allowing you to find meaning even in the most challenging circumstances. Cultivating gratitude requires intention. It's easy to be grateful when life is smooth, but the real test comes in adversity. This is where a gratitude practice can be life-changing. Whether it's writing down 3 things you're grateful for each day or pausing to reflect on the good in a tough moment, these small habits train your mind to look for the positive. Over time, they build a mental reserve of hope and resilience you can draw from in difficult times. Gratitude is not just about what you have, it's about how you perceive what you have. It invites you to stop measuring your life against what others have or what you think you lack. Instead, it asks you to celebrate the unique gifts, experiences, and opportunities that are yours. This mindset creates a sense of abundance, even in situations where resources or circumstances might feel scarce. Lastly, gratitude strengthens your connections with others. When you express thanks to the people who support you, you deepen those relationships and create a network of mutual care. This web of connection becomes a safety net during hard times, reminding you that you are never truly alone. Gratitude, then, is not just an individual practice, it's a collective force that builds resilience through love and community. Setting boundaries is one of the most powerful acts of self-respect you can offer yourself. It's not about shutting people out or building walls, it's about defining what you need to protect your energy, your time, and your well-being. Boundaries are a declaration of your worth, a way of saying, this is what I need to thrive. When you honor your boundaries, you create space for your best self to emerge. One of the first steps in setting boundaries is understanding your limits. This requires self-awareness and the courage to be honest with yourself. What drains you? What energizes you? Where do you feel taken advantage of or undervalued? These answers hold the key to identifying the boundaries you need. Without clarity on your limits, you risk overcommitting, overextending, and losing sight of your own needs in an effort to please others. Saying no is an essential part of maintaining boundaries, but it's also one of the hardest things to do. Many of us fear that saying no will disappoint others, create conflict, or make us seem selfish. But saying no isn't rejection, it's redirection. It's choosing to prioritize what matters most to you instead of spreading yourself too thin. Every time you say no to something that doesn't align with your values, you say yes to yourself. Setting boundaries also means being clear and assertive in your communication. It's not enough to set a boundary in your mind, you have to express it to the people around you. This might sound daunting, especially if you've been conditioned to avoid confrontation, but clear communication is an act of kindness. It removes confusion, sets expectations, and ensures that others understand where you stand. Honoring your boundaries requires consistency. It's easy to set a boundary once and then let it slide when someone pushes against it. But every time you compromise a boundary, you send a message to yourself and others that your needs are negotiable. Sticking to your boundaries, even when it's uncomfortable, reinforces your commitment to your own well-being. It teaches others how to treat you and reminds you of your own strength. Boundaries also teach you about the relationships in your life. When you set a boundary, pay attention to how people respond. Those who truly care about you will respect your limits, even if it takes some adjustment. But those who resist or try to manipulate you into breaking your boundaries may not have your best interests at heart. Boundaries reveal who is willing to honor you as you honor yourself. Setting boundaries isn't just about protecting yourself from others, it's also about protecting yourself from your own tendencies. Maybe you're someone who says yes to everything because you want to feel needed. Or perhaps you take on too much because you equate busyness with worth. Boundaries remind you that you don't have to prove your value to anyone. You are enough even when you rest. Even when you take a step back. Finally, boundaries create room for what truly matters. When you say no to what doesn't serve you, you make space for what does. You free yourself to pursue your passions, nurture meaningful relationships, and care for your physical and emotional health. Boundaries aren't a barrier, they're a gateway to living a life that feels authentic, balanced, and fulfilling. Lifelong growth is a mindset, a decision to continuously evolve and embrace change. It's the understanding that there's no final destination when it comes to personal development, only new levels of learning, understanding, and becoming. When you commit to lifelong growth, you acknowledge that every experience, whether it feels like a success or a setback, has something valuable to teach you. Growth starts with curiosity. It's the willingness to ask questions, to challenge what you think you know, and to explore new perspectives. When you approach life with curiosity, you remain open to possibilities. Instead of seeing obstacles as roadblocks, you begin to see them as opportunities to learn something new. This shift in mindset allows you to view challenges as stepping stones rather than barriers. Committing to growth also requires humility. It means recognizing that you don't have all the answers, and that's okay. There's always more to learn, more to improve, and more to understand about yourself and the world around you. Humility keeps you grounded, reminding you that growth is not about perfection but about progress. It allows you to embrace the process, even when it's messy or uncomfortable. One of the most important aspects of lifelong growth is resilience. Growth isn't a straight line, it's a series of peaks and valleys. There will be times when you stumble, when things don't go as planned, and when you feel like giving up. But resilience pushes you to keep going, to adapt, and to find strength in the struggle. It's in those moments of difficulty that your greatest growth often occurs. Growth also demands self-reflection. Taking the time to pause and look inward helps you assess where you are and where you want to go. It's about asking yourself, what am I learning from this experience? How have I changed? What do I need to work on next? Self-reflection helps you align your actions with your values and ensures that your growth is intentional rather than aimless. Another critical element of lifelong growth is embracing discomfort. Growth often requires you to step out of your comfort zone, to take risks, and to try things that feel unfamiliar or even frightening. Whether it's learning a new skill, having a difficult conversation, or pursuing a dream, the act of pushing past your fears expands your capacity for growth. Discomfort is not something to avoid, it's a sign that you're stretching beyond your limits. Lifelong growth is also about cultivating a love for learning. This doesn't mean formal education alone, it means finding joy in discovering new things, whether it's through books, experiences, or conversations with others. Learning keeps your mind sharp and your perspective fresh. It reminds you that the world is full of wonder and that there's always more to explore, no matter your age or stage in life. Finally, committing to growth means surrounding yourself with people who inspire and challenge you. The right relationships can act as catalysts for your development, offering support, encouragement, and new insights. When you engage with others who are also committed to growth, you create a positive feedback loop that drives you to keep reaching for your potential. These connections remind you that growth is not just a solitary journey, it's one that is enriched by the people you share it with.